So Angela Rayner has had a very busy couple of weeks between not paying her taxes to completely misunderstanding the Online Safety Act and going on to lie about what the Online Safety Act is. Or she could just plead ignorance like she does for her taxes, I don't know. Rayner says that Farage is failing young women with plan to scrap the Online Safety Act. Deputy Prime Minister says move would cause a rise in revenge porn as Labour launches attack ads against Reform UK leader. Just jumping into this edit in the future, since recording this video, she's since resigned. Good news. However, the rest of the story is still really funny. Nigel Farage is failing a generation of young women with his plans to scrap the Online Safety Act, Angela Rayner has said, arguing the move would cause an increase in the prevalence of revenge porn. Now, there's a few things to understand here. Firstly, she completely misunderstands what Nigel Farage has actually said. So Reform UK have basically made a pledge to remove Part 2 of the Online Safety Act. Now, there are two parts to the Online Safety Act. You have the 2023 one, which basically is like 3 or 4 laws that were put together from other categories into an online legislation. So basically, if you share nudes from like your ex-girlfriend or something all over the internet, it's way easier to go through the legal process to be arrested and all of this stuff. And to be honest, for the most part, there are a lot of things I disagree with Part 1, but there's still a lot of stuff in there which in general is all right, if not pretty good. But Part 2, which was introduced of July this year, basically means that we have to upload ID and forms of identification to access certain content on the internet. And that's the bit that everyone's lost their minds over, myself included, because it is the most dystopian thing that you can possibly imagine to happen in the Western world. Now, Reform UK have made it categorically clear on numerous occasions that their key focus is to overturn the Part 2 of the Act, whereas Part 1 is technically still protected by existing laws anyway. There's laws against harassment and all of this that protect people from Part 1. Technically speaking, Part 1 isn't really needed at all anyway for the policing system in the UK. Now, Angela Rayner has decided to switch up the narrative with all of this, and this is something that's very important to talk about. Narrative. But before we talk about that, a quick thank you to private internet access. If you're looking for a VPN that helps protect your identity online, make sure you check out private internet access. They strictly keep no logs of what you do using their VPN, but also one subscription will work across all of your devices. Now, I have to say, legally, you should not be using this to circumvent the Online Safety Act. Doing that would be very bad, and I would get in trouble for telling you to do that. So make sure you please don't use private internet access to do that. With my link down below, you get yourselves 4 months free and 86% off. So you can save yourself some money whilst you don't circumvent the Online Safety Act. Well, let's just get back to the video. In a press conference at the end of last month, Reform promised to scrap the Act, which has just come into force, saying measures intended to push social media companies to limit false and potentially harmful content would instead bring censorship and make the UK a borderline dystopian state. Now, it was actually this statement from Reform that basically my vote is being cast at this point. For me, they're the only party. I mean, don't get me wrong, every single party in the UK government has things that I entirely disagree with, has legislation that I disagree with. But so far, this is the only party that's actually grown a pair of bollocks and openly said repeatedly that they're going to overturn the Online Safety Act, which, to be honest, at this point, isn't about what the people of Britain want. The Online Safety Act is a huge national security risk. And I will be doing a full video about all of the leaked information that's come out about the Online Safety Act, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see all of that. In response, the Science and Technology Secretary, Peter Kyle, accused Farage of being on the side of child abusers such as Jimmy Savile, bringing a furious response from the Reform leader. Now, the funny thing about all of this is, well, you can do your own research into Keir Starmer and Jimmy Savile, but Keir Starmer tends to fall on the side of originally defending Jimmy Savile to the point where he didn't enable an investigation and a trial take place into Jimmy Savile back in the day. So, Peter Kyle, mate, it's your boss that is the nonce. Go figure. Intimate image abuse is a devastating crime and contributes to a vile misogynistic culture on social media that we know translates into physical spaces too, Rayner told the paper. Nigel Farage risks failing a generation of young women with his dangerous and irresponsible plans to scrap the online safety laws. Scrapping safeguards and having no viable alternative plan in place to halt the floodgates of abuse that could open is an appalling dereliction of duty. Which, once again, Angela Rayner, you're a liar. Many people within the Reform Party have repeatedly spoke about alternative methods that they could do to address issues currently taking place with online safety. They've suggested things like training programs, working alongside internet service providers, even issuing free educational programs for parents to teach them actually how to turn off adult content from their home routers. And it was actually just 3 weeks before this where Angela was in a room with people from Reform where they stated their plans to do this. So she's lying. She's fully ignoring what the actual plan is from Reform. Labour is launching a linked series of online adverts against Farage, including one published on Sunday morning connected to Rayner's comments. Nigel Farage wants to make it easier to share revenge porn online, it says, alongside the image of Farage grinning. Now, does the Labour government sound like a party that's playing fair here or thinking about the good of the British population? No. They are bashing the opposition in an attempt to get votes, which isn't how you should play your game. And yes, Reform do the same thing. I'm not going to give them any props for doing that. What's really annoying me about this is that this isn't based on reporting information or sharing information for the greater good of the British population. What Angela Rayner was actually doing here was fear-mongering to the general public to make them scared of voting Reform. Now, there's one more thing that I think we really have to talk about here, which is basically how Angela Rayner is being completely sexist. We know the Online Safety Act serves a core function: require ID for people to access content so children don't access content that they shouldn't. That is the idea that we've been sold by the government. As we've since learned from my investigation into the topic, there's actually a whole path of where the money links back to the people that wrote the legislation. The people that wrote the legislation are set to financially benefit from the legislation itself. So it's nothing to do with protecting children, and people are becoming more and more aware of that. So now they're switching it round to the Online Safety Act is to protect women, which in my opinion is probably the most sexist thing that she could say, because women don't need to be protected. Women in the UK are as strong and independent as men in many regards. Women aren't some weak, fragile species that needs to be protected from dangerous men on the internet. I just want to point out, at the moment in the UK, one of the largest scams happening, which equates to around about £750 million a year, is OnlyFans models from the UK using third-party agencies to manage their account. So when guys pay for naughty content on the internet, they're actually talking to a bloke in a call center in India, just typing away, pretending to sext with this individual using pre-programmed responses. That is a huge data concern and a massive level of fraud that has been purveyed by women. Now, I'm not saying as a generalization this is a woman problem. What I'm saying is that fraud and abusive content online isn't just down to men. It's not a problem with men. It's a problem with the fundamentals of the internet, and age verification does nothing in the way to fix those things. It doesn't stop the upload of revenge porn, it doesn't stop people getting scammed, and it doesn't protect women. So if we're going to be sold the story that it's to protect children, then to protect women, who's it to protect next? The truth is, it doesn't protect anyone, and it doesn't protect the interests of the British population, because the British population so far has their passports, private information, driving license, biometric data, all freely available on the internet to scammers to grab at a moment's notice. And if it sounds like I'm getting angry about this, boys and girls, I fucking am. This is absolutely ridiculous. If the government are going to lie to us and change what the core fundamentals of the Online Safety Act are repeatedly over and over again, we have no position to argue. Because one second myself and other creators and the general public are pointing out how it doesn't work to protect children, then the goalposts get moved, is to protect women. Okay, now we're having to defend the stance of how it's nothing to do with women's safety online. Then we go to part 3 of that discussion where they say it's for national security. And this is the bit where it gets really interesting, because I have just done an email interview with someone that's worked at Ofcom for over 10 years, and I'm going to be sharing that very soon. It is some of the most insane shit you would have ever seen. Make sure you check out private internet access at the link down below to get 4 months free and 86% off. And if you did enjoy today's video, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I shall see you all in the next one.